Jas Athwal is the leader of Redbridge Council. Jas, how are you?
I'm here, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it's lovely to speak to you. Long time no speak. Redbridge has the highest number of infections in London. That's not a proud boast, is it? That's quite a challenge.
No, it's a massive challenge, and I think I just listened to Susanna. Some of the things that she said. I think it's a lot down to confused messaging. Government doing too little, too late. You know, the messaging could be eat out, and now they're saying don't eat out. You know, go to work, don't go to work. Wear masks, don't wear masks, and wear masks again. This is really challenging, especially for a London borough like ours, which is certainly one of the most overcrowded boroughs. And you're going to get intergenerational sort of families mixing, and this is presented as a challenge. And, of course, what the government has done is left us with no real powers to tackle this. And wherever we've had the powers, we've used them very wisely and effectively. And I think we just need to go back to that testing situation you've just been talking about. You know, it may be we're getting more testing now than we were getting back in March, but it's a fact that we're getting 20% less testing today than we were getting 3 weeks ago. How can that be that we're going into the second wave, the testing has gone down by 20%? And the example I'll give you is we've got a testing centre here in Ilford itself. Last month, we were testing 700 to 800 people a day. Now we're testing 100 to 150 because of capacity problems in the national laboratory. This cannot go on like this. We need that system to work. And at the moment, the testing facility is empty. People can't book on to go in. They can't walk in. Asymptomatic people can't get tested. This just can't go on. And certainly with the flu pandemic season now started, this is only going to get worse. And we're looking to the government. And, of course, the messaging is absolutely woeful.
Yeah, Jas, I know you've written to the government. Have they replied?
No.
Okay. And obviously you're still awaiting that reply, I'm guessing, and to hear from them and to see what they're going to do next. What do you think would be the best thing to improve the testing? I mean, obviously you've got the highest rate there in Redbridge. You need more testing. How do you envision that happening? Well,
I think the government's had 6 months since we went into lockdown, and 6 months later we were promised a world-beating system. And, of course, as people are going out and about doing their business and they can't go and get tested, children have gone back to school, children are more likely to be asymptomatic, they can't get tested. We've got those 10 tests per school for every 3 weeks. And, of course, what happens when the school runs out? They send the child home and the child misses their education, or if they're asymptomatic, they're simply not being tested. What we really desperately need across the country, not just in Redbridge, is we need the testing system to work. And it gets worse. I mean, on Thursday, they're launching the Test and Trace app. Of course, local councils are not getting the marketing materials until Thursday. So we can't encourage local businesses in advance. Businesses will need to show, they need to download a QR code when people have been in their shops or in their restaurants so they can scan them. And, of course, they haven't got that. And businesses have to offer this service legally, we found out last week. And yet there's been no advance warning. This is almost like make it up as you go along. And this is why I think across the country we're seeing the whole infections going up, because the government have really messed up the messaging, because we should have been able to prepare better for this. We've had 6 months to prepare for it. And we've got something being launched on Thursday, and everybody's going to find out about it on Thursday.
Is it? Are you being a bit unfair? Is that not taking any responsibility? I'm a Redbridge resident, by the way. I think you know that. Is that not us taking responsibility for our own behaviour? And haven't we seen it go back up in places like Germany, like France, like Spain? Have their governments, not carried out their responsibilities too?
No, I think when you're saying that it's our behaviour, that is absolutely spot on. What we're sort of getting at is that mask wearing and certainly social distancing is the citizens' responsibility. But certainly the government's responsibility is to get the testing right, getting the tracing app right. And if they haven't been able to do that, that's their job. That is the only thing they have to do is protect their citizens, which is woefully inadequate at the moment. And as citizens, and certainly as the council, what are we supposed to do? We're making sure we're stocked up on the PPE. We're making sure we're stocked up on the food.
I think it's slightly disingenuous, if I might say so. And you would expect me to push back a little bit. They're responsible for a furlough system that's fed 11.5 million people. They've taken, as far as I can work out, they've instructed local authorities to take people, rough sleepers, off the streets. We've had a gargantuan effort from Universal Credit in order to deal with people. Don't we need to cut them a little slack?
And I think you'll find that who actually did most of the work or all the work. I know as a council, did we receive all the funding? No, we didn't. We have a £45 million hole because of COVID. What we were promised at the start was get the job done and we will look after you. We got the job done. The councils up and down the country, regardless of political colour, have got the job done. And what the government has then done is gone back on their word and not given the right amount of money, especially to the councils who have been working around the clock to get the job done. So when you say it's disingenuous, it would be if the government had paid the right money. But one council alone, like Redbridge Council, who've lost over £190 million over 10 years, have now lost £45 million due to COVID because of a promise that wasn't fulfilled by the government.
Why do you think we've got the highest rates in Redbridge?
Yeah, I think the highest rate for us is due to the fact that we are an overcrowded borough. Traditionally, Redbridge Council has never built enough houses. Somebody similar to us, like Croydon, have 156,000 properties. We've got around 100,000 properties. And I think
so it's multi-generational homes, people living too close together. What about the idea of people not adhering to the rules? I was in Ilford Market for the first time. I went with the kids. I went to buy their school shoes, and all the arrows said walk one way, and everybody ignored the arrows and carried on doing whatever they liked.
And I think I would have to agree with you, because we've certainly the enforcement officers have been out and about, and we haven't got the powers to be able to force people to go in the right directions. What we are doing is directing them. But you're right, people have to take responsibility as well, because this is not something that people are not aware of. This problem's been with us for 6 months now, and that 6 months, if people are going to disobey certainly the directions given by the council or the government, there will be consequences, and those consequences we are seeing certainly in Redbridge. But that's not the only reason. No.
Except let me just ask you one more question before we leave you, Jas. It's in terms of the announcement, and you would have heard the leaks like we did yesterday. How do you think that affects people that live in your part of town? How will these new restrictions impact upon your constituents?
I think we need to be tough. We need to prepare certainly for the future that this may go on. It's like a mountain that we're climbing at the moment, and we don't know where the peak's going to come. And what we have to do is make sure that we start listening to the government, we start listening to the council, and when the council starts getting the powers to be able to enforce some of the things that Boris has said tonight, because we haven't got those powers at the moment. And what we dearly would like to see is the money that accompanies it. I think Susanna mentioned about the COVID marshals. We've got people who were furloughed. Certainly, we want to bring them back. And if we could have the money, we would put the COVID marshals, as long as they have some powers to be able to do this. We will do it, but we just need the backing from the government. We've not had that fully.
Thank you, Jas. We appreciate you being here, and thanks for talking to us this evening. This is Cllr Jas, and of course, I'm joined this evening by Mr. Eddie Nestor as well here on BBC Radio London, and we are talking about the Prime Minister's address that he gave at 8 p.m, which was live, talking about new restrictions for us here in London and for the rest of England as well.